Hey guys, welcome back. The previous video we had talked about heading tags, paragraph tags, image tags, and also we covered a bit of the division tag, which is like one of the most popular elements in HTML. We'll be talking more about the div tag or div element in this video, and we'll also be covering various new tags in HTML. So without any further ado, let's jump into the video. In the previous video, this is where we left off with a bit of headings, the divs and all of it. Now I'll be doing a bit of a change out here and I'll include some more divs. Yeah, this is what I've done. Like I've included 3 divs or divisions. Like there's a heading, outward heading saying this is the brown bear. Inside the first div, we have a smaller heading called about brown bears. Then even smaller heading called species and features. And similarly for 2 more divs. Now we are going to be learning about something called as the attribute, which is like giving a name to it. So if I tell you that I want a h3 to be changed or I want a div to be changed, I'll have to tell you change the second div, or if there are many number of divisions, change the nth div or something. Instead of that, let's say I give a name to it, like with an ID, that's called an attribute. So that makes it easier for us to access the division. How do you do that is you give inside the tag itself, you say ID equal to, and in quotes whatever you want the ID to be named as. Let's say the first one I would call it as about. So I put about. So this is the ID, where this ID is called the name of the attribute and this about is called the value of the attribute. Like this, I can give a name to each div, like a name to a person, like that, a name to each division, so that it's easier for me to access. Such things are called as attributes. So let's say I go ahead and give an ID to this, and I call this as habitat. And similarly for the third one, I'll call this as media. Now once I save it, and I ask you to change the h2 in the div with the ID about. So that would mean h2 in the div ID about, change it. So I can go ahead and change this with the required or the given value to me. So this makes it easier for us to access, to view it, so it kind of has a name to it. So it differentiates itself from the other similar elements. In the previous video, we had talked about a p tag, which is a paragraph tag, which is used to display a text to the user. We have another tag called as a span. This tag like highlights the particular text or the small clause that you have in the whole sentence. So how do you write that is you put it as a span out here, and let's say I want the large brown bear to be highlighted. It will not be literally highlighted out here. Now this span element will help you style the large brown bear separately from the whole HTML element. So this really gives these 3 words a higher priority over the rest. So you can go ahead and let's say using the style tag, I just put span and give this a boldness of a higher level or a font size differently or a font family or font style differently. This is where the span element is used. That's also a writing tag like a p tag. There's a catch here. The span is only used for shorter piece of text, unlike the p tag, where it does not matter how much of text you write between the p tags. Next, we'll be talking about some of the ways you can style an element using HTML itself. In any kind of text kind of format, there is an option for you to make your text more bold or make your text more italic. Similarly, HTML offers you that solution using 2 tags, EM for italic and strong for bold. I remove the span tags and I save it. I go ahead and use the strong tag, the strong elements between the large brown bear, so to make it more bold. And once I save it, since h3 is completely bold, any kind of heading you will not be able to see change, but I'll go ahead and change the h3 to be a p tag. Then there will be a change because the rest of it is just a p tag, but large brown bear is strong, it's got a boldness to it. And similarly, I go ahead and change this h3 also to p tag, so you can see when I use the italic tag the difference. So this is the normal p tag. I go ahead and I use the EM out here. Once I save it, you can see the difference. This is italic. So strong is for boldness and EM is for italic. Now since I want this to look more of a web page kind of effect, I'm going to use some paragraphs and give it more of an effect with the strong and italic. So let's go ahead and do that. So now I've gone ahead and written some words about the brown bear and the features of a brown bear, the habitat, like places which have smaller brown bear population. Once you save it, you can see the difference. So in the start I have written about the brown bear and some paragraph. About the species I have to write more, I have to find it out and I'll write it. And the features I've written some, and countries with smaller brown bear populations, I've written some countries with that smaller brown bear population. Using the bold and italic tags like strong and EM, we can go ahead and we can style these texts out here. Like for example, I can go ahead and write the biological name for a brown bear in italic. Once I save it, it gives you that italic effect, and this is how web pages, like even in Wikipedia you would go ahead and you can see about a brown bear. If you go ahead and if you read the biological name, that'll be in italic way. So that's using the EM tag they can easily do it if they're writing it in HTML5. And I'll go ahead and use the strong tag out here, like its conservation status currently least concern. So if I use a strong tag, it gives that emphasis and you automatically see those words. Least concern is bold out there. So I go and use a strong tag. Now you can see the least concern words are bold. This is the effect that some styling can give to your web page. I save this. Next off, I'll go ahead and I'll show you another element in HTML5 which is used but not that much used, like a heading tag or a paragraph tag. This is called as a line break, where let's say I want to add space, like the space between one line to another line is not sufficiently given by HTML5 itself. So I go ahead and I say that, okay, let's increase that space. For example, if you see between Himalayan brown bear and species, the space I think is not perfectly given, like there's not enough space. So I go ahead and I add the line break there, which is done by the BR tag. So I add 2 BR tags, and if you save it, you'll see the space between about brown bear and species has increased quite a lot. And similarly, let's say I want to make the divs separate from one from each other. So I go out here and I add the BR tag, 2 BR tags. I'll remove 1 BR tag from here. And if you save it, you can see, okay, about brown bear is different. It has more space. Even habitat has some space. And we'll finish it off with this div separation. That's done. You have space between each of the divs has increased using the line break. So that's it from me in this video. I hope you have learned some HTML elements. The HTML elements I told you today were the divs, the attributes which are done by the IDs, famously done by the IDs. And next we talked about the span tag, which is like a smaller version, like really small version of the P tag, and you can write text with it. Then we went into styling the text using italic and bold, which is EM tag in HTML and the strong tag in HTML for boldness. And at last we saw about line breaks, which is done using the BR tag. This gives some space between the given line and the next line which you write in HTML. This is to increase that space, like that space, the enter space you can say. So that's it from me in this video. Thank you.